Hello, welcome to the encore presentation of Solution Focused Bears, Discover Your Best Hopes. I'm Joe Pendleton. Unfortunately, it wasn't recorded the last time, so I'll do my best to make sure that happens this time. And let's get started. So, Solution Focused Bears, Discover Your Best Hopes, which can help children focus on strengths and problems. I am thrilled to introduce Solution Focused Bears. The Bears approach helps us discover our best hopes by finding clues to remember past successes, envision positive futures, unlock strengths, and take small, actionable steps forward. Background on me, I'm Joe Pendleton. I'm an SEL Behavior Specialist at Wildwood Elementary in Matamidi, Minnesota. Um, Before that, while I received my degree in school psychology at the University of Wisconsin River Falls and have worked for 21 years in education. I'm a certified solution focused school counselor, and I enjoy spending time with my wife and three kids, a lot of times outside in the woods. I spend most of my days at about an 8 out of 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. And a big shout out to my wife, Nicole, for illustrating a lot of lessons and a lot of the Wildwood universe. I am not a professional speaker yet. However, if you would like to make me one, my email will be at the end. My part of my inspiration is Linda Metcalf. I went through her certification training and it really helped me bring solution focused front of mind in everything I do here at work, at home, as a basketball coach for my kids. Also, Elliot Connie and Adam Froer and their diamond approach. I had that behind my desk and I looked at it, and that's part of how Bears came to be. So, what is the problem? We often focus on what's going wrong and the problems. And another problem is time. It's hard to find the time. And I like to say, kids don't have time for us to not have time. So, introducing solution focused brief therapy concepts to kids at a younger age and before they need to be in the counselor's office or the therapist's office, I think is a good approach to go with. So let's change it right now. Let's look for solutions. One of the main characters in Solution Focused Bears is Scout F. Bear. He is a hope detective. He doesn't search for honey pots or berries. Instead, he helps kids find clues for their best hopes. He was created with the help of a first grader last year. I asked the first grader, when you go back to class, what clues will tell you that you're finding your best hopes? And then we looked at each other and we're like, clues, like a detective, like a hope detective. Over the next week, I kept thinking, what will the hope detective's name be? And I knew it would be SF Bears. And I figured I ended up going with Scout because Scout means to gather information. And a lot of this approach is to gather information. And it's to help the student and the parents and the teachers realize that they're the experts, not the counselor or the therapist. So the setting of Solution Focused Bears is in the wild woods where animals live and work together. We have two different depictions of the wild woods, one that my wife created and the other one with the help of AI. The AI did not want to put all the animals in, and sometimes they looked like strange hybrids. So we went with that. Sometimes I have to add my wife's creations to the AI using Canva. Here's a picture of the real wild woods, the inspiration for the setting. What is Solution Focused Bears? It's an easy to remember, child friendly acronym. Again, I was a school psychologist to remember the different areas of solution focused language like best hopes, exceptions, alternate future, resources, and scaling. So for each of these different areas, you have to have a tool. So in this case, best hopes, the tool that we have is a magnifying glass. This is about figuring out what we truly want to be different or better. What is the student's vision for a more positive future? How can they zoom in to discover the clues for their best hopes or how they would like things to be. Each of the different tools have the animals in the wildwoods, just like we are. They all have their strengths. And Olive the otter is really good at helping other animals discover their best hopes because Scout isn't the only hope detective. We are all hope detectives. Scout often reminds her friends to focus on what they want to happen rather than what they're afraid of. Finny the fish also helps his friends look at best hopes. When a problem arises, he helps them swim towards a brighter future by asking them to describe what they want to see happen instead. We also then look at exceptions. And what would we use for exceptions? We look at what does a detective use? They use a notebook to jot down notes. These are the times, exceptions are the times when best hopes have already happened, even a little bit. It's about noticing those moments when things are going well. We use a notebook to jot down clues and to think about those moments when things have already gone well, even if they're tiny, even if they're small. Back when I was a more traditional school psych, I'd go to home visits and I would ask the parents that question. I would ask them, when are some times when you would have expected a bigger reaction and you didn't get it? We had one kid that didn't like to stop playing in order to go to dinner. So when was he able to come and eat a little bit of his food? When did he just scream instead of scream and hit? So note those times when things were a little bit better. Spike the Hedgehog's a master of exceptions. He helps his friends realize that when things go well, they're not just lucky accidents, that they actually have it inside of them, those inner strengths that can help them. And those are clues that they can use to find their best hopes. Daisy the deer, she helps her friends see that even on the tough days, there are moments of calm and success, and we need to recognize those. Here at Wildwood, last year we put in What Went Well Wednesdays. So the teachers would all, during morning meeting or a closing circle, would bring the kids together and they'd talk about what went well. And then we expanded that to the parents, and we'd let the parents know when your kid comes home, don't ask them what happened at school, or what, or did anything happen, right? We wanted to give them the words of what went well, even just a little bit, so they could be more solution focused when the kids came home. Bee the Beaver also looks for exceptions. She reminds her friends that progress, no matter how small, is still progress. We need to give ourselves credit for those small wins and start stacking the wins and build momentum so things can be better. Then we have Tyler the Wolf, named after one of my sons. Alternate future, right? We look at a map. This step encourages us to vividly imagine a future where our best hopes are consistently coming true. A map helps us look at where are we, where do we want to be, how do we get there, how will we know when we get there. 20 years ago, before I was really thinking about this, I was still using solution focused, and a kid came to my office because he was scared to go outside at home during recess at Phi Ed because he was scared of bees. Turns out his cousin was stung by bees and had a reaction that summer. He came to talk to me and we talked about best hopes, but for him, alternate future was the key. I asked him, when I snap my fingers and today you go out to recess, what will you be doing out at recess? Told me he'd be swinging, he would go down the slide, he would play with soccer with his friends. We painted a very vivid picture of that. So then I told him, I'll be out there and I can't wait to see you do that. He came running out that day, again, for the first time in months. And he was running towards me and he's like, Mr. Joe, Mr. Joe. And I'm like, go play, because I had bees swarming around me and I did not need him to see the bees. Anyway, went out, had a great time, and he went out to recess the rest of the year. He went out to Phi Ed the rest of the year. And he played outside at home. So it worked, and it was a quick 20-minute session, and I was hooked. Pip the Mouse helps his friends with alternate future. He's a great help when others feel stuck because he's skilled at thinking of new and creative possibilities. right? He helps the other animals go from problems to possibilities. Mrs. Owl also helps them. She helps them tap into their inner wisdom, gently guiding them towards a brighter path. For resources, we use a key. I wear a necklace around my neck with a key on it to remind me to look for my strengths and inner talents and to remember who can help me. So what does it mean? Identifying the strengths, skills, positive qualities, support systems that we have. We need to tap in and unlock that inner power, right? A lot of times we forget this when we're writing a plan for kids. We talk about strengths and we come up with things like smiles or is kind, a friend. And then the problems are like super, a whole bunch of them. And we need to balance those out. We need to come up and figure out what are our strengths. Today I asked a kid, if you could teach me something, what would you teach me? What are you good at that you could teach anyone else and they would get better? That's one way to tap into what their talents or strengths are. Little Gus is also really good at finding resources. He helps his friends, feel confident when they face challenges. Reggie the raccoon, he excels at using resources to help friends find hidden treasures of strength, resilience within themselves. He helps them remember past successes and brings out their inner talents. Tyler the wolf, he also does that by reminding them that they're stronger than they think and that they can rely on their own abilities. Here we have Wally the turtle. We look at scaling here in the schools. We use a ruler for scaling. I took it, so it was only 1 to 10. What does it mean? It involves rating progress on a scale and identifying the tiny, manageable steps moving forward. Sometimes we want to go from here all the way over here, and we have to realize if we shoot too far, we will not get anywhere. So we need to think, what is one step along the way? For the scaling, I like to use my basic one is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst it could be and 10 being the best it could be. Where are you right now? Right? And when someone tells you they're at a 5, we celebrate they're at a 5 and ask things like, well, what are you doing so you're not at a 1 or a 2? Or if you're at a 5, what could you do as soon as you leave here that could get you from a 5 to a 6? Just small steps in the right direction. Felix the fox helps his friends with scaling to measure progress. He helps everyone celebrate small successes and see how far they've come, even when the goal seems far away. Wally the turtle also helps his friends with this, which helps them see that things aren't always as bad as they think they seem, and that a little bit of improvement is a big deal. Right? So here he's working with a little bit of exceptions too. So what I use is like I said, with the help of my wife in the illustrations, I was able to create some lesson plans. So this is an example of a lesson plan that introduces the different tools that we just talked about to the kids. And Scout F Bears does that. Here's some AI renderings of the different characters. AI does a good job, but sometimes it just does what it wants to, and it can become frustrating. And it doesn't always spell things right. So here I had to take Wally, the drawing of that my wife made, and add him to the background. Sometimes it's quicker if you really want to just come up with a picture and then talk to kids about it. That's one way to help. Like I said, I used to go with created the whole story, and now I kind of have the more of the talking points that lead us in the right direction with kids when we're talking about, Reggie the raccoon has a problem making friends. We might create a story about Reggie the raccoon when really it's the kid who's having a difficult time. So it becomes a little less personal for the kid and a little more fun, creating a way for Reggie the raccoon to discover his best hopes. Here's another example where AI, used my wife's background, created some animals, but I had to replace them with the ones that she created, of Tyler the wolf and Pip the mouse, because they just fit the aesthetic that we prefer. Solution focused bears, the best part is it works in all three tiers at our school. No matter the tier, the language and the principles are the same, creating a consistent and coherent system for our students. More importantly, the students can access this in their regular classroom, in the cafeteria, in the gym, music, everywhere they are, not only in my office, right? Because that's the big thing, is getting that language out there sooner so it becomes more of a proactive, preventative type of system in our school instead of reactive and only used in tier two. I'm going to share a couple examples of documents that I have created that follow. These are some mini guides that teachers and parents can use to access what does it mean? What is our best hopes? What are exceptions? We have them for all of the different tools that Scout uses, along with specific ones for kindness and friendship and safety and helping others, following our expectations. We have a quick check-in that I created because I really needed something that I could follow and I thought asked the right questions. And it follows the Bears framework. I have a quick guide for hope detectives where it's a one pager that parents and teachers and others can use so they have an idea of what questions to ask if we're trying to find best hopes or exceptions, an alternate future, resources, or scaling. For instance, for alternate futures, suppose you leave here and your best hope starts happening today. What would be going on? Scaling on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being your best hope happening all the time, where are you today? I created these forms because, working in education, we have functional behavior assessments, and a lot of times they take information from the student and the teacher and the parents and put it together. And that's what I was doing here. So it's a more solution focused way to use that same framework. And then here's the pre-meeting worksheet where you kind of start putting together, and then what you can talk about, you can talk it over at the meeting using the solution focused language. And then after that, we have to collect data. So why not have a My Clues success chart where here we talk about the tiny things that went well today. If they want to put some big things that went well, that is also just fine, right? I noticed that when I use my strengths, what is your strength? Here's what happened, right? We want to recognize those times when we're able to use our strengths to see a good result. One of the classroom teachers did this activity of us all becoming hope detectives. And here's an example of their hope detectives on the wall or up on their cabinets. This is the story that started it all. After I created the idea of Scout F Bears, with AI's assistance, we came up with this story where Scout helps little Gus figure out what his best hope is. Right? So, what a great way to introduce different concepts to kids. I have tons of books in here that I read with bibliotherapy about topics that kind of relate to kids, right? It would be like, oh, but kid's having this problem. Let me find the book. Now we create the book together, we create the story together, and it fits within their exact situation. Here's a story I created when a kid was having a tough time on the playground. He was hitting some other kids. I brought him into my office and we called home. While we were talking to mom, he went into the corner and started just screaming. So I let mom know, yep, we're not going to get anywhere here. So how about I work with him and I'll call you back in a little bit. In the meantime, he calmed down and we created this story together, basically about alternate future. What will it look like tomorrow when your day's going well? Like what do you look forward to? And it's as it says here, Al's eyes lit up a bit and he described his hope. A good day is when I get to play with Palmer, color with Mrs. O, and do a good job of listening. But sometimes, he sighed, sometimes I get frustrated. And when I do, I have to do my deep roller coaster breaths. And he demonstrated the breathing. So we made this story. I shared it with his mom. She started reading it to him at night as his bedtime story. And I shared it with the teacher too. And the problems became much smaller. And he had started to realize these better days. So with that, I created this script following bears, where instead of asking, what did you do? Talking about trouble, it's more about, here's what we've noticed, right? I'm here because your teacher and I both want to help you have the best possible school day. So I'd like to know, what are your best hopes for our time together today, or how would you like it to be? Right? And then you work down and come up with a plan, which is what we all want anyway. Here I have an example of one of the lesson plans, where this one's focused on exceptions, and we use the tool, the notebook. And the whole point in this lesson is for students to identify times when their best hopes are already happening, even a little bit. Here we have Olive the otter. She gets a little wiggly during story time. So they have to talk about, well, when are the times that you're not wiggly? So she can apply those to the times when she is wiggly. Right? So then we have an activity at the end of the story. And in this case, it's my exceptions notebook. Give each student a small piece of paper, fold it in half, and they get to create their own exceptions notebook where they can draw and write about an exception they have. Here are some examples of how I've used it in story creation. Is that the one? I think this is the one I want to read. All right, I'm going to read this. Sorry. Scout F. Bears and the day the wild woods got kinder. In the heart of the wild woods lived Scout F. Bears, the one and only hope detective. Scout didn't look for problems, he looked for clues that showed animals were already doing things right. One morning, Scout noticed something important. Some animals were arguing, some forgot to help, and a few weren't being very safe near the river. Scout tapped his magnifying glass and said, this sounds like a best hope mystery. Scout gathered everyone in the clearing. What are your best hopes for the wild woods? He asked kindly. Olive the otter said, I hope we can be kinder to each other. Gus the squirrel squeaked, I hope we help more. Finny the fish bubbled, I hope everyone stays safe. Scout smiled. These are powerful hopes. Let's see what clues we can find. Scout opened his notebook. When has the wild woods already been kind, helpful, and safe? Even a little. Daisy the deer remembered. Yesterday, Felix waited for me instead of running ahead. Pip the mouse added, someone warned me before I stepped too close to the river. Scout wrote fast, aha! These are exceptions, times your hopes already happened. The animals felt proud. Maybe the wild woods weren't as tricky as it seemed. Scout rolled out the map of possibilities. Close your eyes, he said. Imagine the wild woods when your best hopes are happening more. The animals imagined smiles, helping paws, and friends reminding each other to be careful. I see us using kind words, said Gus. I hear people asking, are you okay? Said Olive. Scout nodded. That's your alternate future, and you're already on the path. Next, Scout jingled his shiny key. What helps you be kind, helpful, and safe already? He asked. I'm good at noticing when someone looks lonely, said Daisy. I'm brave enough to ask for help, said Pip. I know the safety rules, said Finny. Scout beamed. Those are your resources. You already have what you need. Finally, Scout pulled out his ruler. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are we today with kindness, helpfulness, and safety? The animals thought carefully. Maybe a 5, said Felix. Scout asked, what makes it a 5 and not a 2? We already try, Felix said, and we care. Scout asked one last question. What would move what would moving to a 6 look like? The answers were small but powerful. Say one kind thing. Help one friend. Give one safe reminder. The next day, the wild woods felt different. Not perfect, but better. Scout F. Bears smiled as he closed his notebook. Every small step matters, he said, and today the wild woods took one. And just like that, every animal became a hope detective too. So there's an example. You can have it tweak it, AI can tweak it, or you can tweak it yourself. I've started writing more of them myself because now it's a little bit easier. But to begin with, I used a lot of AI help along the way. So here's an example of how we can use it outside of the K2 world, right? So my son's an 11th grader and he's in rec basketball and he just wasn't playing that great. So on Sunday before the game, we came up with this story. He decided he wanted to be a snow leopard, and here's the prompt I wrote. Act as the creator of solution focused bears. You're going to write a story about best hopes focusing on an alternate future for a Logan, the snow leopard. He has a basketball game later today. Write a story so that it's 12 to 15 pages with 2 to 3 sentences per page, including information on visualizing a positive alternate future in which he makes good passes, shoots some 3-pointers, and hustles. Use the attached document as guidance to create the story using the Bears approach. So the funny thing about this was before his game, we didn't even get Gemini did not create the storybook. So we just talked about it and what would happen in it. And he went out there and he played the best game of the year. He was 6 of 9 for 3-pointers. He was hustling and he was a good teammate. So just talking about it, the story and what could happen in it helped create a better alternate future for him. So here I'll just click through it. Right? Don't worry, Logan. We can use my alternate future map to see exactly how great you can be. Right? Close your eyes, visualize, seeing what's happening. He's picturing it. The ball arced through the air. Now that you've seen your alternate future, how does your heart feel, Hope Detective? Logan stood up tall, his tail no longer twitching with worry, but swaying with confidence. I feel ready and bouncy, Scout, because I know I have the power to make the future outcome true. Right? Sometimes we just have to remember that the power, our inner strength is within us and that we can do better than we have in the past. So there's an example of Gemini. If you have Storybook, it's pretty fun. Not always accurate, so you have to keep tweaking it. So I use these in a whole bunch of different ways with our smart boards. We create stories. Now we're doing more story creation without AI with the students that I work with. Sometimes I just put the pictures up and then we create a story of what could be happening, right? So it's all about imagining best hopes. With my wife's help, we also came up with some games. We have bingo, we have a matching game with the different characters. We have Best Hope or Scout's Best Hope Adventure. This one here, I gotta scale down, right? So here in my office, I have the big dice because that's fun for the kids. Here we're gonna play with little dice just to show you how it goes, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. So we have a 2. We're gonna say this is where Wally started. So 1, 2. I'd pull out a magnifying glass card. What do you hope to learn that will make you feel proud? Sometimes I just ask the basic questions, and sometimes I use the cards. So there's a 5 we get to pick. Do we want to go towards exceptions? Do we want to go towards alternate futures or go down the river to resources? In this case, I'm going to go to exceptions. So one question could be, have there been times when you felt like you had a lot of energy and focus, What was different about those times? Like, when are you able to focus the best? Right? If we went down here to alternate future, it might be a question like, what would be the biggest feeling you would have if your hopes were realized? Or we might ask, what does a perfect day look like for you from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep? Or I might ask the snap my fingers. If I snap my fingers and you go back to class, what will be the first thing you notice that's different? Right? So then we're going to go keep rolling. Oh, Tyler's up here already. So then if we have a resource question, we'll give an example of one of those. A resource question might be, what do you do to relax and take care of yourself? Who is someone in your life that you can always count on for support? And then not to be left out, let's go with a good old scaling question. Again, I might just ask on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the worst it could be and 10 being the best it could be, or your best hopes realized, where are you at right now? Or I might ask, what's different about the times when you're at an 8 and the times you're at a 4? Or you might ask, which class are you most likely to be at a 4? Which class are you most likely to be at an 8? And then what's happening when that happens? And what can you do to move up one more step? So the kids really love this. I have the game is usually up on my whiteboard, and it's the thing that the kids ask for the most. When they come into my office, can we play the game today? And I'm like, yes, you may. And it's a fun way to go through the different pieces. And again, remember, we are all hope detectives. Let's bring solution focused bears to life for our students. It's really about embracing the language everywhere in the school, in the community. Like I said, I use this with my basketball teams. I ask them, what are our best hopes for the game today? After the game, I ask, what went well? What do we need to do better? How can we make that happen? Right? Use terms like best hopes, clues, exceptions. I'll get back to this. Exceptions, suppose, resources, better, different, instead, alternate future, wonder, small steps. I'm going to add curiosity that isn't on here. We talked about that. Really, we need to keep working on strengths and resources and let kids know that they have positive qualities already inside of them. And how do we tap into them and help others? So 5, 6 years ago, I submitted this quote to Linda Metcalf's Solution Focused Schools Unlimited, and it was part one of the programs. And it says, seeking solutions just feels better than finding problems. We get more of what we look for, and I choose to be solution focused. Again, that was 5 or 6 years later. Now I'm doing presentations on solution focused bears. So I am getting closer to my best hopes. Last year, I presented, and my presentation was titled, I Need Your Help to Revolutionize Education with Solution Focused Bears. And now I think it's more about revolutionizing society. Like, might as well get bigger. Because if we all focused on best hopes and a positive alternate future, how much better could everything be? Right? So, down below, I have my email address for ideas, suggestions, requests. Anything, if you'd like to collaborate in the world of solution focused anything, I'd be happy to be a part of that. The email is solutionfocusedbears@gmail.com. Solutionfocusedbears@gmail.com. If you email me, I can also send some of the documents and the different things that I've created. Um, Some of the things that I created are currently for sale at the Solution Focus Marketplace. One of them is a starter pack where you could get the 13 lesson plan. It also includes a Best Hopes worksheet, those mini guides that talk about the overall Bears approach. We got Best Hopes, exceptions, all of the different tools going into how it helps with kindness and friendship and helping and safety. That check-in, I'd be glad to probably just send that to you if you email me. but it's part of this. The different descriptions. Part of the bonus of having this is that then you can plug it into your AI and it'll pull from the already created universe of the wild woods, right? So here's the lesson plans. We've got smartboard lesson plans that I've already showed some of. Right, we got 13 of them. Comes with the activities. Yep, got it. Don't need to show you anymore. And then the game pack, like the Best Hopes, still have the character descriptions. The Best Hopes adventure game comes, digitally. So I printed it out and then cut it out and laminated it and put together. So, like I said, the kids really think that's fun. Got the memory card matching with the cute little animators. I guess at the beginning I said if anybody's looking for a professional speaker and you want to mold me, that'd be great. But also if you're looking for a illustrator, my wife has, like I said, one of her best hopes is now being realized with her using her talents in order to help me with this project. Let's see if I have anything else to share. And then there's some freebies, which are more like here, you can share this information with an administrator guide and parents and staff to just say, here's why solution focused bears could help the community. I'll go back to this page again, Joe Pendleton, solutionfocusedbears@gmail.com. It was a pleasure to present during the SF24-26 year, and I hope to continue to contribute to solution focused uh, therapy, counseling, solution focused society as a whole. So, thank you. Have a great morning, night, afternoon, depending on when you watch this. I am trying to stop it.